Jace, do you have any doubts over Enzo Maresca as Chelsea manager?
It's a difficult club to manage.
Yeah, and probably the most difficult club to manage.
It's an incredibly difficult club to manage because the upheaval this club has endured over the last, is it 3 years now?
Yeah,
3 years ago.
3 years.
You know, you go what happened in Russia and Ukraine, that was the beginning, around about now. And the football club has gone from being, it was a very stable football club, even though the managers would come and go a bit like a revolving door. It's always felt, it's a little bit, even though the new ownership has come in, it always felt like that. The owners have shown, if things don't work and they believe they're not going to get better, they will get rid of you. Potter is the perfect example of that. If things don't go well, Poch done OK towards the end of the season. I do believe that there was an issue about the Club World Cup. He had a year left in his contract and they wanted the next manager to go in and manage in the Club World Cup. That was why they wanted a bit more of a permanent manager. But football's a results-driven industry. I don't care who you are. People talk about Ruben Amorim at Manchester United about his job. My God, he's only been there 6 weeks, whatever it is. He's had 12 games, I think. People are talking about that. Under no illusions, this is professional football at the highest level. And if these results continue, Maresca knows that. He's been involved in football long enough. Inevitably, his job will be called into question. And that's the way it has always been and always will be.
Yeah. You mentioned experience, Jace. On TNT's coverage of the Brighton win against us on Friday night, he said, I'll read out some of the quotes that he said.
Who's he?
Joe Cole.
Oh, Joe Cole.
This is what Joe Cole said on the broadcast. He said, you can get all the data you want of a 21-year-old that will predict he will be this at 24, but there's a process between 21 and 24. He'll have to learn every single game. I know from my experience playing with experienced players around me as a young man was invaluable. And moments like the Brighton game where you need those experienced guys around you. I said it from the very start of this ownership, you have to have experienced players. And he goes on to talk a whole lot. And I don't know if it's questioning the Chelsea ownership now, but whose fault is this, Jace, that we are in the position we're in? Ownership, it feels like, we've had I think Ben Jacobs on the show before, and he's coming up later as well, to talk about the sort of rivalry it feels like between the two, Blue Co and Clear Lake. And it's just, how have we got to this position, and how do we get out of it when we do have no experience on the pitch? Do they have to change the way that they are thinking and the way that they have planned and built this squad together if we are to move forward and actually go on to compete at the highest level for the biggest trophies? Surely something has to change here, Jace.
Well, we had this conversation before. When the new ownership came in, they brought in Koulibaly, they brought in Aubameyang, they brought in Sterling.
Yeah.
Okay? They already had Ben Chilwell, vastly experienced. They already had Thiago Silva. There was experience in and around that squad. Then there was a shift in plan and about identifying young, up-and-coming, potentially promising talent. And that's the route that the club have gone down. They're giving long contracts on medium to low wages, so that the contracts are stay. These players aren't on £250,000 a week.
Yeah.
They're on longer contracts on wages that give them over a longer period. I'm not smart or clever enough to tell you why they do that. Simon Jordan will tell you and Ben Jacobs will tell you. But there is a reason behind that. There is a business sense behind that. That's the model that we've gone down. Inevitably, this conversation will come up because we aren't a side stacked with John Terry, Thiago Silva, Marcel Desailly, Didier Drogba. The players that you'd look around. When you think about Ryan Bertrand playing the Champions League final, he's got Ashley Cole behind him. He's got Didier up front. He's got Frank inside him. Right? That was his debut in Champions League football. We don't have that. And that model that doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. You've got players like Levi Colwell learning on the job. You've got players like, Badia Shield. Even when you go through some of the players that we've signed for lots of money, the Netos this one, we're not talking about experienced players here. We're talking about young potential. And the problem you've got with potential is it takes some time to realise. And that's what Joe Cole's talking about. I had Paul Elliott alongside me when I broke into Chelsea's first team, right? And Paul Elliott, let me tell you now, what a model to play alongside. What a man. And I used to look up to him, and he'd guide me through the games, talk to me in training, talk to me before the games, and he took me under his wing. No one does that here. We got Reece James. Reece coming back from injury. Hope he stays fit. But the squad, we are the youngest squad by, I think, some distance. Premier League winning squads is something like 27 to 28, the average. We're 2.5 years behind that. to win the Premier League. So we're still that young team. How it changes can only one way live, and that's if the sporting directors, Egbali, Todd Bowley, they decide this is going to be a route we're going to go down. But when you buy experience, you pay more money for it. And then it goes back to the model I think that they've adopted.
Look at the last time Chelsea won a major trophy, which is the Champions League. I said before, don't count Super Cup, don't count the other things that you get on top when you win these trophies, the Club World Cup as well. You had Thiago Silva, Azpilicueta, N'Golo Kante, Jorginho, players that have not just won stuff on the club level, but international level as well. Giroud. These are World Cup winners. These are the winners of the Euros. These are players that have seen it all and done it all and won it all. And for Chelsea, we have to accept that we haven't got that experience, and so we are going to suffer. But Chelsea fans were very on board with the recruitment 2 months ago when we were winning games, right?
We want our Chelsea. We've got our Chelsea back. We've got our Chelsea back.
Ran through the stands when we beat Southampton away, when we beat Spurs away. And away fans, I don't care what anybody says, they are your core fan base. They are the people who pay a lot of money to follow the team home and away. In the stands saying, we've got our Chelsea back. So a month and a half, 2 months later, I'm hearing about protests. I'm sorry, but we can't have it both ways. Like Jay said, football's a results-dependent game. And if we were getting results, there wouldn't be protests. And ultimately, when you put all those things together, you've got to look at the manager. Because Liverpool, for example, didn't spend any money in the summer. If they weren't getting results, Liverpool fans would be very, very irate at the lack of business they did. What they did do is when they got a top manager and they're getting results, and all of a sudden FSG geniuses didn't go heavy in the summer, considered spending. It's about results, and your manager gets you results, and unfortunately, our manager's not getting us results.
And also, just on that, you got all over the pitch. You've got quality and experience.
Yes.
Van Dijk,
yes.
Salah, yes. Just to name just two there.
Just one more question, Quaku, on this whole sporting directors, this business model that Jace was saying. You know, we all understand that they are going for younger players on smaller salaries, longer contracts. But do we need more football people in there to go? That might not work business-wise. Yeah, I understand that that's the model you want to follow, but you need someone with a football head. Yeah. We know that Todd Bowley and Ben Egbali don't have football heads. I think that's clear to everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Do Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart, is that their job to have the football aspect and go, well, actually, I understand that that's the route you want to go down, and we'll go and buy all the potential, we'll go and get some South American wonder kids that are 16 years old, 18 years old. But that doesn't work in football. You can't just put a group of 18-year-olds together, go and play together, and they win. It doesn't work like that.
Football's played on grass, not spreadsheets. And so you do need footballing people. And this is not me saying that those people aren't footballing people. They've made some really astute transfers. Cole Palmer for 40 mil is one of the steals of the century in terms of his actual value right now.
That's not Joe Shields.
That's Joe Shields. But they were employed by Egbali and Bowley. They put them in place. So you've got to give them credit. And we were bemoaning the fact that Caicedo cost so much money, but if you look at it, money well spent because he's a quality and top performer. And so, you do need to strike a balance. Jay's touched on the fact that we've got the youngest squad in the Premier League by a couple of years. That won't run. That won't win you trophies. We have seen it. Like Jay's pointed out, look at Liverpool, Salah, Van Dijk, Trent, Robertson. These are players that have won it all, seen it all, done it all. And I'm not going to quote Alan Hansen and say you're not going to win anything with kids because we've seen it happen before, but it's very, very difficult to win things with kids. And we saw it, right? Take it back to Frank's first season, 1920, core of kids. You had Tammy Abraham, you had Fikayo Tomori, you had Reece James, you had Mason Mount. The kids were great, but they weren't good enough to get over the line. What do we do? In the summer, we bring in experience, we bring in Thiago Silva, we bring in players that have won it, and then what happens? We win the Champions League. It's as simple as that. You need experience to win major trophies. Just
on that one more point, now you've got to move on. This, from what I can see, and I don't know this, but Stuart Winstanley will be directed as to where the club want to go. And from what I understand, Egbali is very much part of that, wants to bring in young players. Todd Bowley, I believe, was in charge of the first transfer window when we bought him. The likes of Aubameyang, Koulibaly, Sterling, vastly experienced players, high wages, big wages. All of those players have gone. I mean, Sterling's on loan, but so there was a transfer shift policy
after,
midway through this, and I'm under, from what I can see, Stuart Winstanley are under orders to go out and buy the best young talent. Here's the areas, identify the players, and we'll go and buy them.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.